Hello everyone, welcome back to our series on ancient Indian education Vedic period. I hope you have already watched part 1 and part 2 because in those lectures we explored the meaning of Vedic period. The concept of Vedic education is vision, objectives, silent features and complete teaching learning process in great depth. Once we understand what Vedic education was and how teaching and learning happened, another interesting question naturally comes to our mind is where was this education actually provided? Were there schools? Who managed them? How were students admitted? How did they study? How was discipline maintained? How were they evaluated? So, in today's lecture, we will discuss all the questions mentioned. Now, so today's topic is forms and development of education institutions and organizational practices during the Vedic period. So, the first is early form of education. To understand education institution, we first need to understand where education actually began. In the early Vedic period, as you all know, there were no schools, no colleges, no universities. We can say that home was your first place where you learn from your family. The family was the first education institution, and you can say father, mother were regarded as the first teacher. The mother played an equally important role in developing language, manners, values, habit, culture, etc. Children learned by observing their parents and elders. Knowledge was transmitted orally because writing was not widely used for educational purposes. Students learn through listening, repetition, and memorization. The emphasis was not only on acquiring knowledge but also on developing, like you can say, moral values, religious practices, good conduct, daily life skills, respect for elders, etc. So, in the beginning, education was informal, it was not formal as we are studying today. So, it was totally family centered and value oriented. Second point is development of the Gurukul system. As we already studied in part 1, the meaning of Gurukul system. In brief, we will discuss here. If you want to understand the meaning in detail, you can check my part 1 and part 2. As society became more advanced, knowledge expanded. Subjects such as philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, etc. become increasingly specialized. One family member could no longer provide education in their field. This created the need for learned teachers known as gurus. Gradually, education shifted from homes to gurukuls or ashrams. A gurukul was a residential institution where students lived with the guru as member of one family. Unlike today's school, students did not return home every evening. They lived, studied, worked, and grew together under the Guru's guidance. This marked the beginning of an organized educational system. So, the Gurukul system encouraged discipline, self reliance, we can say simplicity, a sense of responsibility, character building, etc. So, education becomes systematic rather than informal. Third is Gurukul as an educational institution. Now, let's understand Gurukul itself. Gurukul was much more than a school. There are various important features of Gurukul as an educational institution. First is residential institution. Second, limited number of students. Third, individual attention. Fourth, learning through observation, discussion, and practice. Fifth is close teacher student relationship. And the last is education in an natural environment. Now we will discuss features one by one. First is residential system. Students stay with the guru throughout their education. Living together allowed learning to continue throughout the day, not just during lessons. Second is limited number of students. They are not n number of students like today's classroom. In today's classroom, there are 40, 45 students in one classroom. In Gurukul system, the guru usually accepted only a small number of students. This ensured better supervision and effective learning. Then individual attention. Since there were fewer learners, every student received personal guidance. The guru understood each student's strength, weakness, interest, and abilities. Today, we call this personalized learning. Then next is learning through observation, discussion, and practice. Students did not simply memorize facts, they observed the nature, they discuss ideas, they ask questions, they practice what they learned. So learning was practical rather than mechanical. Next point is close teacher-student relationship. The guru was not merely a teacher. He was a guide, mentor, philosopher, counselor, and role model. In today's modern education system, we also consider our teacher as a guide, mentor, philosopher, counselor, and a role model. Similarly, students respected the gurus as a parent. This close relationship became the foundation of famous Guru Shishya tradition. Last is education in a natural environment. Most gurukuls were located in forest or peaceful surrounding, which is very good for the student. It basically focus on the naturalism philosophy. Nature itself become a classroom. Student learn simplicity, patience, environmental awareness, and concentration. So fourth point is other educational institution. Although the Gurukul was most famous institution, it was not the only one. Education was also provided through several other centers. One is ashram. Ashram served as center of learning where sages taught philosophy, religion, ethics, and spiritual knowledge. Next is hermitages, tapavans. Tapavans were peaceful forest hermitages where advanced learning, meditation, and self-discipline were practiced. Next, forest school. Some education center function in forest, allowing students to learn directly from nature while maintaining a simple lifestyle. Last is beginning of larger center of learning. So during the later Vedic period, education center gradually become larger and more organized. These developed eventually laid the foundation for a great center of learning such as Takshila and Nalanda in later periods. This shows that education institutions continue to evolve over time. Fifth point is organizational practices. Now that we understand where education took place, let's see how these institutions actually function. They followed several well organized practices. So, first is Upanana ceremony. Education formally began with this ceremony. This was the admission ceremony into the Gurukul. After this ritual, the child officially became a student. It marked the beginning of disciplined educational journey. Then next is Brahmacharya. After admission, students enter the Brahmacharya ashram. They were expected to live a disciplined life based on, you can say, self control, obedience, simplicity, respect, dedication towards the learning. They have to be dedicated and follow all the rules very strictly and in discipline. Education was viewed as a character formation rather than merely acquiring information. Next is daily routine, which is very important. Daily routine helps you in your character formation. The daily routine was carefully organized. Students woke up early, offered prayers, practiced meditation, studied under the guru, they perform physical work, they collect firewood, help in household work activities, they serve the guru, and many more things they do. This routine developed responsibility, discipline, and dignity of labor. Next is curriculum. The curriculum was broad and balanced. Students study Vedas, then philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, agriculture, many subjects they study, which help them in their all-round development like intellectual, physical, moral, spiritual. Next is teaching method. Teaching was highly interactive. The guru used methods such as Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana. We have already studied all these three methods in my previous video part 2. So learning is done, teaching is done. So it's a time for the assessment. Unlike today's written examinations, students were evaluated continuously. The guru observed their behavior, participation, discipline, practical work, understanding, and they focus on the overall development of the student. So assessment was continuous and comprehensive at the time of the Gurukul. Next is Samavartana ceremony. At the completion of education, student participated in this ceremony. This was similar to today's graduation or convocation ceremony. Before leaving the Gurukul, Guru gave guidance about ethical living and social responsibility. Now, the last point is administration of education institution. Now, let's understand how these institutions were managed. Guru was the head of the Gurukul. He managed teaching, discipline, administration, and overall welfare of the student. As we studied this concept in deeper, the Gurukul was generally supported by the society. King, wealthy families, and local communities contributed food, land, clothes, and other necessities. Students expressed gratitude through Guru Dakshina, which was not a compulsory fee but a respectful offering after completing education. Life inside the Gurukul emphasized simple living and self sufficiency. Students actively participated in cooking, cleaning, farming, collecting firewood, caring for animals, and other community activities. Thus, education and daily life were closely connected. Now, the last point is significance of Vedic education institution. Finally, why are these institutions important even today? Can you write this answer in the chat box? The Vedic education system made several lasting contributions. It focused on promoted holistic development of personality. They preserve Indian culture and tradition, develop moral values, discipline, self-control, strengthened Guru Shishya tradition, encouraged self-reliance and responsibility, prepare students to become responsible member of society, integrated education with everyday life, inspired many modern education principles such as value education, experiential learning, and personalized instruction. So, if we conclude and connect it with today's education system, let's summarize today's discussion. Education during the Vedic period gradually evolved from family based learning to organized Gurukul institution. These institutions were not merely center of academic learning, they emphasized discipline, moral values, practical skills, spiritual growth, and holistic personality development. Their well organized practices from Upanyan ceremony to Samavartan ceremony created a complete education journey that nurtured both knowledge and character. This is why the Vedic education system is regarded one of the earliest and most influential education tradition in the world. I hope in today's video you understand the concept of Vedic education, forms and development of education institution and organized practices in a systematic and simple way. If you found this session useful, please like the video, share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel for more lectures on education which are related with B.Ed, M.Ed, NET and teacher education entrance exams. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.